Good evening. We're broadcasting to you again from Victoria's bushfire zone, where the focus is shifting from the fire threat to healing.
Fire, mankind's oldest ally and its most relentless enemy. It built our homes, forged our tools, and lit the path of civilization. Yet when unchained, it turns from servant to sovereign, consuming forests, cities, and souls with equal hunger. A wildfire is not just fire, it is fury. It breathes, it hunts, and it grows. Fed by drought, wind, and human neglect, it moves faster than fear. So brace yourself as we count down the 10 most devastating wildfires the world has ever known. Number 10. The Peshtigo Fire, USA. October 8, 1871. Wisconsin. The air was dry, the wind cruel, and the forests heavy with uncut timber from months of logging. That night, the world ignited. While the Great Chicago Fire captured headlines, the true catastrophe was happening hundreds of miles north, in the town of Peshtigo. What began as a small blaze to clear land became an inferno unlike any before. Hurricane-force winds turned fire into a storm. Flames leapt from treetop to treetop, generating whirlwinds that uprooted trees and flung burning debris for miles. The heat was so intense that it melted sand into glass. People fled wherever they could, into wells, fields, and rivers. Mothers held children underwater until they could no longer breathe. Others suffocated as the fire consumed the oxygen itself. When dawn came, Peshtigo was gone. More than 1,500 people lay dead, entire families erased in minutes. It remains the deadliest wildfire in U.S. history, though few outside the Midwest remember its name. Chicago's tragedy took the spotlight, but in Peshtigo, the fire had already written a darker story, one of human fragility before nature's wrath. Number 9. The Black Saturday Bushfires, Australia. February 7, 2009, Victoria, Australia. The day began like an oven door left open. 46 degrees Celsius, the hottest in recorded history. Humidity vanished, and the land itself seemed to smolder. Then came the wind, shrieking at 100 kilometers per hour, snapping power lines and scattering embers like missiles. When the fires started, they spread with terrifying precision, dozens merging into a single continent-sized inferno. The eucalyptus forests, rich in oil, exploded into fireballs. Within hours, entire towns were gone. Kinglake, Marysville, Flowerdale. The heat was so fierce that glass liquefied, metal warped, and the air shimmered like molten steel. Firefighters described walls of flame 100 feet high. Survivors said the sky turned crimson, then black. And the sound, the roaring, unending sound, was like a jet engine that never stopped. By nightfall, 173 people were dead, and over 2,000 homes were reduced to ash. In the aftermath, Australia mourned not just the loss of life, but the loss of innocence, the belief that nature could still be tamed. Black Saturday became a symbol of the climate's vengeance and human vulnerability. Out of it came a revolution in early warning systems, stricter building codes, and the haunting reminder: some fires cannot be fought, only survived. Number 8. The Great Fire of 1910, USA. August 1910, the Northern Rockies. For months, the forests had been bone dry, their pine needles crisp as paper. Lightning strikes and careless sparks had birthed 1,000 small fires, each manageable, each deadly in waiting. Then, on August 20th, a windstorm roared across the mountains, merging them all into one. The result was a monster, a fire front over 3 million acres wide. Trees exploded like gunfire. Mountains glowed red. Smoke turned day into night. Entire towns, Wallace, Taft, Avery, vanished in hours. Firefighters, mostly soldiers and locals, fought hopelessly with wet sacks and shovels. 86 never returned. The fire's heat created its own weather. Fire tornadoes that lifted locomotives from rails and tossed them into valleys. The smoke traveled as far as New York City. When it was over, nothing but ash and silence remained. The Great Fire of 1910 did more than destroy. It redefined. It birthed America's Forest Service and the philosophy of total fire suppression, a policy that would shape decades of wildfire management. But nature, as ever, would have the last word. 7. The Greece wildfires, 2007, August 2007, Greece. The cradle of civilization became a furnace. Temperatures soared above 45 degrees as fierce winds swept across parched hills. Then, in one cursed week, fire ignited in dozens of locations, some natural, others deliberate. The flames merged, forming infernos that raced through the Peloponnese and across ancient Olympia itself. Villages burned to their foundations. Olive groves that had stood for centuries turned to blackened skeletons. People were trapped in their cars, on their farms, even inside their homes, unable to outrun the fire's relentless advance. In the end, 90 lives were lost, and more than 670,000 acres of land were destroyed. The aftermath was apocalyptic. Satellite images showed vast portions of the Greek countryside reduced to cinders. Smoke drifted over the Mediterranean, blotting out the sun. And amid the ruin, investigators uncovered a darker truth. Some fires were set intentionally by those seeking land for profit. In a land that birthed philosophy and democracy, the 2007 fires became a bitter reflection of modern greed. They reminded the world that sometimes the deadliest flames begin not in nature. Number 6. The Fort McMurray Fire, Canada, May 1, 2016. Alberta, Canada. The boreal forest, dry as parchment from an unusually hot spring, stood waiting. Then came the spark. No one knows exactly how it started. Maybe a lightning strike, maybe human carelessness. But within days, it became a living nightmare. The fire began southwest of Fort McMurray, a city at the heart of Canada's oil sands. At first, officials thought it was manageable. Then the wind changed. Within hours, the blaze tripled in size and crossed the Athabasca River. Flames as tall as office buildings closed in on the city. Evacuation orders rang out too late. 90,000 people fled as embers rained like meteors. Highways turned into tunnels of fire, and cars drove through smoke so thick that drivers couldn't see the hood in front of them. Homes exploded. Power lines fell and firefighters watched helplessly as neighborhoods vanished in minutes. By the time the fire was contained, it had consumed 1.5 million acres, destroyed 2,400 homes, and caused nearly $9 billion in damages, the costliest natural disaster in Canadian history. But amid the ruin came something extraordinary. No deaths from the fire itself, a miracle in a sea of tragedy. Fort McMurray's story became one of survival and unity. It revealed both the fragility of civilization and the strength of human resilience. In the face of unstoppable fire, humanity didn't break. It burned, and it rebuilt. Number 5. The North Sea Flood, Netherlands. January 31st, 1953. The sea came without warning. In the darkness of night, a violent storm surged through the North Sea, pushing an enormous wall of water toward the Dutch coast. The moon pulled the tide higher, the winds screamed louder, and the dikes, those proud symbols of Dutch defiance, began to break. Within hours, more than 1,800 people in the Netherlands were dead. Entire villages vanished under black water. In Zeeland and South Holland, families climbed to rooftops, clutching children as their homes were ripped apart. Cows floated through submerged fields, boats drifted through towns, and the cold winter air turned the flood into a frozen graveyard. Across the water, Britain and Belgium suffered too, a reminder that the sea respects no borders. Yet it was the Dutch who bore the heaviest wound. For a nation built below sea level, it felt like betrayal. But from tragedy rose resilience. The Netherlands responded with the Delta Works, colossal barriers, sluices, and dams designed to hold back the sea itself. Steel, stone, and engineering genius rose from salt-soaked soil, a monument to survival. The flood became both a scar and a vow. Never again would the water win. Number 4. The Bangladesh Cyclone, 1970. November 12, 1970. The Bay of Bengal. Still, then violent. Winds exceeding 190 kilometers per hour struck the coast of East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. The Pola cyclone unleashed the fury of an ocean onto a delta already at the mercy of tides. A storm surge 20 feet high swept inland, drowning villages in minutes. Wooden boats capsized like toys. Palm trees snapped like twigs. When the sun rose, the land was silent. Over 300,000 people were gone. Some estimates say 500,000. Entire families erased overnight. It wasn't only nature's power, but humanity's failure that deepened the tragedy. Relief was slow. Politics tangled aid. The disaster ignited public outrage, sparking the movement that would soon lead to the birth of Bangladesh as a nation. The Bhola cyclone remains the deadliest tropical storm in recorded history, a reminder that the poorest often stand first in line when nature strikes hardest. Number 3. The Indian Ocean Tsunami, 2004. December 26, 2004. Off the coast of Sumatra, the earth groaned. A 9.1 magnitude earthquake ruptured beneath the sea, displacing trillions of gallons of water. What followed wasn't just a wave. It was an event that rewrote geography and grief. Within minutes, walls of water as tall as coconut trees raced toward the shores of Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and India. Tourists on beaches watched the tide vanish, unaware of what came next. The ocean returned, roaring. Entire villages disappeared. Trains derailed. People clung to palm trunks as debris sliced through the current. In Banda Aceh, 80% of the city vanished beneath water. In Thailand's Phuket, holiday laughter turned to silence. By the time the sea retreated, more than 230,000 lives were lost across 14 countries. It was the deadliest tsunami in modern history, so vast that it shifted the Earth's axis by nearly an inch. Yet amid ruin, humanity rallied. The world united in relief efforts, and from destruction came one of the largest humanitarian responses ever mounted. Number 2. The Haiti Earthquake, 2010. January 12, 2010. Port-au-Prince. Crowded, fragile, alive. At 4:53 p.m., the ground convulsed. In just 35 seconds, Haiti's capital became a landscape of ruin. The quake measured only 7.0, but its shallowness made it monstrous. Buildings pancaked. Streets split. Hospitals collapsed as patients screamed inside. The presidential palace crumbled like chalk. Over 220,000 people died. Millions were left homeless. The air filled with the smell of dust, fuel, and despair. And yet, through the rubble, came songs. In every neighborhood, survivors prayed, sang, and dug with their bare hands. Foreign nations arrived with aid, but rebuilding proved slow and tangled in politics. The scars linger still. Not just in broken buildings, but in the collective memory of a nation that knows what it means to lose everything and still find the will to live. Number 1. The California Camp Fire, USA, 2018. November 8, 2018. Paradise Baum, California. A name that once promised peace. Before dawn, a spark leapt from a faulty power line near the Feather River Canyon. It landed on dry brush, brittle from months of drought. Wind caught it, and in seconds, fire raced through the valley. Residents woke to orange skies and the sound of sirens. Flames moved faster than cars. A football field every second. Smoke turned day into night. People fled through roads lined with burning trees, headlights glowing dim in a storm of ash. By nightfall, paradise was gone. 85 people are dead. 18,000 buildings reduced to dust. The Camp Fire became the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California's history. The culprit? A century of neglect. Fragile power lines, unchecked growth, and a climate hotter than ever before. The aftermath sparked lawsuits, bankruptcy, and a reckoning, not just for one company but for an entire state living on borrowed time. Paradise remains a symbol of fragility, of courage, and of how progress without care can burn faster than we ever imagine. Nature doesn't hate, it reminds. Every flood, quake, and fire whispers the same truth. We live on borrowed ground. From the ashes of paradise to the waters of Zealand, each tragedy reshapes how we build, how we live, and how we remember. Because survival isn't about outrunning the storm. It's about learning to stand again when it passes. This is Top Facts, where truth hits harder than fiction. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button.